All right, welcome everyone, and thank you for taking the time today to allow me to show you the combined power of Tableau and Starburst during our first lightning demo of the day. By using these enterprise solutions together, you'll be able to increase your productivity and improve your organization's analytical workflows. Now, for those of you who have already been working with Tableau, you know it's a great solution for quickly visualizing your data to get insights you need to run your business. With no need for coding and an intuitive drag-and-drop interface, it's easy to build interactive reports and dashboards. By providing a wide variety of connectors, Tableau enables you to connect to all of your data sources, and it delivers fast performance against individual data sources as well as small to medium-sized data sets that come from multiple data sources. It gives you the ability to easily share your work with others so that you can avoid spending time rebuilding assets that already exist. Now, while these benefits help illustrate why Tableau is a leader in the business intelligence space, you've probably run into some small challenges along the way as well. Since the processing power of Tableau is limited by the machine it's running on, you may have noticed slower performance when analyzing large volumes of data, especially when that data is coming from multiple sources. And due to this reduction in performance, you may find yourself actually relying on data extracts instead of using live connections, which means you could be working with stale data. Or you've decided to actually pause the auto updates within your reports to minimize delays when building and adjusting those reports. Unfortunately, this can lead to unexpected results when you refresh your reports, so turning that pause off, and then you ultimately have to make additional adjustments to your report to get it the way you want it to look. Now, for those of you who are already familiar with Starburst Enterprise, you know that it's a real workhorse. It delivers lightning-fast performance and access to all of your data at scale. Starburst simplifies your analytical workflows by providing a single point of access to all of your data, which allows you to accelerate your time to actionable insights. With its MPP query engine, it provides fast performance that you need to stay ahead of your competition, even when we're talking about large scales of data. This means you can now combine large amounts of data from multiple sources with ease. And since Starburst is a query engine, our focus is on processing data and delivering consistent results with minimal disruption to your data consumers. Now, to that end, Starburst requires that queries be written using ANSI SQL, which may be a challenge for some analysts, especially those who are not familiar with SQL. Additionally, Starburst Enterprise does not provide a native interface for creating reports and dashboards, which some analysts, again, may need to actually analyze their data. Now, through our partnership with Tableau, we're able to complement one another to address these challenges. And as a result, we can bring the analyst experience to the next level. Starburst does all the heavy lifting by giving you on-demand access to distributed computing, which provides fast response times against enterprise-scale data. And we can deliver even faster performance for some enterprise sources using our custom-built parallel connectors. With an impressive library of pre-built connectors that take ANSI SQL and translate it into the native language of each data source, you'll be able to access all of your data using true query federation. And thanks to this impressive performance that Starburst brings to the table, you'll now be able to use Tableau the way you've always wanted to. No more relying on data extracts and worrying about stale data, and no more pausing auto updates and dreading the rework that awaits when you refresh your reports. So how does Starburst and Tableau work together? Well, when an analyst builds a report in Tableau, the queries generated by Tableau are sent to the Starburst coordinator. The coordinator node is the brain of the Starburst cluster. Since Starburst is built on the ANSI SQL standard, it's able to quickly and easily analyze those queries that are sent over from Tableau. Using an advanced cost-based optimizer, the coordinator will determine the most efficient way to process the query. The coordinator then takes that query and breaks it up into smaller, more efficient parts and assigns each part to a worker node in the cluster. The worker nodes will then process the query in parallel for optimal performance. They'll securely reach out to each of the data sources involved in the query, and then using Starburst pre-built connectors, they'll be able to communicate with each source in its native language. Since the workers take care of connecting to each data source for you, you no longer have to worry about connecting to each source individually. This means you now have a single point of access to ask questions of all of your data. Now, as each worker receives its results from each of the underlying data sources, those results are then streamed back to the coordinator. The coordinator then sends the combined results back to Tableau for the analyst to work on. And thanks to Starburst's ability to process the data in parallel, it's able to return these results back to the analyst in less time than before. So before I get to the demo, let's start with a simple scenario. Let's say that you're working at a bank, we'll call it Burst Bank, and the bank is interested in finding out what customers they can upsell to a premium credit card. Now, in order to identify which customers to upsell to, they first need to confirm that the customer only has a basic credit card. They also need to take into account each customer's income level and which loyalty segment they belong to. And to ensure that this initiative is a success, they want to start off with a small pilot program to target a specific region within the US that has the highest number of potential candidates for this initiative. Now, as an analyst at Burst Bank, you've been tasked with building reports in Tableau to help identify customers for this initiative. Unfortunately, the data you need to build these reports is quite sizable and it's spread across multiple sources. The customer data, including what their income level is stored in the data lake, which in this case is S3. In order to identify which type of credit card the customer actually has, you'll need to grab their account information as well as the product profile information, which is actually stored on-premise in a MySQL database. And then finally, to see what loyalty segment the customer belongs to, you'll need to access their customer profile information, which exists in a cloud data warehouse, in this case, BigQuery. Now let's see how using Starburst together with Tableau can make this a quick and easy task for you. Now before I hop into Tableau, I just want to do a quick review of the different data sets that are involved in this analysis so you can get a feel of where the data is coming from. Now here we have dbeaver, which is just an open source query tool. You can of course use any data consumption tool to connect to Starburst, as long as it supports ODBC and JDBC. And because Starburst gives you a single point of access to all of your data, you no longer have to worry about connecting to each individual data or each data source individually. Instead, all you need to do is establish one single connection to Starburst. So here I've got a connection to my Starburst cluster. And below this, you can see all of the data sources available to me through that cluster, which we refer to as catalogs. So as you recall from the scenario setup, we've got our data spread across multiple sources here. We've got our customer information that's stored in S3. And then we have that account and profile information, which is actually on-premise in MySQL. And then finally, we've got that customer profile information. So telling us what customer segment they belong to, that's actually stored up in BigQuery in the cloud. So without Starburst, I might actually have to work with my data engineers to worry about copying or migrating this data all into a single source so that I can consume it in an easy way. Now, those types of processes, as I'm sure you've most seen firsthand, can often be time-consuming and expensive. And so it's natural to want to avoid those if possible. Now, fortunately, with Starburst, I can do just that. Instead of waiting for that data to be moved or copied into a single location, I can write a single query that reaches out to each individual data source and combines the data for me. So here we have a simple federated query. It's going to pull back the basic amount of data that I need for this particular sample analysis. And you can see here that we're actually accessing the customer data that's in S3, the account and product profile information in MySQL, and the customer profile information in BigQuery. So now as I run this query, rather than connecting to each individual data source myself, Starburst is doing that for me. It's reaching out securely to each individual data source using the native language it understands, pulling back the minimal amount of data that's needed to process this query. It's then combining that data in the Starburst cluster itself. So this helps reduce the amount of processing that needs to be done in these underlying data sources. This is especially important when we're talking about more expensive data sources like some of the cloud-based ones. So here we're minimizing the amount of processing done on those sources. We're doing all the processing and the heavy lifting in Starburst, and we're doing so more efficiently and more cost-effectively. Now, for Tableau analysts who are comfortable writing SQL, they can actually take this federated query and run that directly through Tableau. However, not all analysts will be comfortable with writing SQL, and so we can actually simplify access for them even further. All I need to do is create a simple view on top of this federated query. So I take this query and create a view on top of it, or what we refer to as semantic views. And now once this view is available, my Tableau analyst can now consume it directly through Tableau as if it was all in a single table. So if we switch over to Tableau here, as an analyst, I can now connect to my Starburst cluster just like I would any other data source. Thanks to the new extension released by Starburst, which is available through the Tableau extension gallery, I can now see it within the list of my other connectors. All I need to do is download the extension and then select Starburst Enterprise by Starburst connector from the list of available connectors. In order to connect to my cluster, all I need to do is provide a few bits of basic information. I provide the name of the coordinator node within my Starburst cluster, the port that I want to connect on, and depending on what security I have in place for my cluster, I can either provide just a username, or we also support username and password authentication, including LDAP. For this demo cluster, we actually don't have that enabled yet, so we're just going to use the username to connect. And then once I click sign in, I'm instantly connected to my Starburst cluster. I can see all of the available data sources within the Starburst cluster itself, or what we refer to as catalogs. And then within each catalog, I can see all the schemas available to me, and then all the tables or views that are available within those schemas. Now here we have the federated or the semantic view that we just saw a few moments ago. So as a non-SQL savvy Tableau analyst, I can click on this view and pull it right into my data canvas, and I'm getting live results directly back from the underlying data sources. And you'll notice here that I'm actually using a live connection and not an extract. So I no longer really have to worry about potentially working with stale data. Given Starburst's lightning fast performance against multiple sources and large amounts of data, I can use live connections and interact with my reports as I'm building them out and iterating through my analysis. You'll also notice here that some of this sensitive information has been masked for me. And that's due to Starburst's tight integration with Ranger, which allows us to employ or apply role-based access controls, including data masking, by user and group, so that we can ensure users are only able to see the data that they're allowed to see. Now I've taken this data and I've already built a few very simple worksheets here and put them in a dashboard, and we'll kind of walk through these now. So using that, well, actually, sorry, let me take a step back. Missed one very important part here. So for those who are SQL savvy and prefer to write SQL directly through Tableau, we also support that. So you can click on the new custom SQL option here, and let me copy down the query that we used from before, the federated query. I can paste that directly in here. You can, of course, write your own federated query against any of the data sources in your Starburst cluster. And here I'm getting the live data back just like I did before with the federated view. Again, relying on a live connection and not an extract, and still seeing those security policies applied in real time on my data. So if we switch back over to the pre-built reports that I have here, let's say that we're starting off with just some raw data. Again, this is very basic here, so just a different format to make it a little bit easier to read the data. Again, I'm getting data from multiple sources, so S3, MySQL, and BigQuery. I'm getting the security policies applied in real time, and I can do any aggregations I need to do on the fly as well. Now, as I start to drill down more into my analysis, maybe I want to focus on particular customer segments for my analysis. So here we have a very simple chart where we're actually looking at the income distribution by each customer segment. Now you'll notice here that I'm missing that basic credit card filter that we talked about during the scenario setup. In order to add that, all I need to do is drag that into my filter screen, select the appropriate credit card level, and apply that. And my report is instantly updated with the new values. You'll notice that I don't have auto updates paused. So as I mentioned before, we can actually leave those unpaused so that we're getting fresh results back as we interact and build our reports out further. So we no longer have to worry about what things are going to look like after we turn updates back on. We can do everything in real time. Now, based on this chart here, it looks like maybe I want to focus my analysis further on the diamond customers. So as we move on to here, we see a very simple bar chart that's showing income by state for these diamond customers. Now, this report actually happens to be doing an aggregation using sum, which isn't really exactly what I need for this particular analysis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to a different aggregation, average. Now, again, since I have auto updates on, I don't have to worry about pausing it and seeing how those adjustments I just made or those new aggregations might inadvertently affect my report and then potentially do rework after that. Instead, I can do these aggregations on the fly in real time and interact with my report as I need to really build it out into what the business needs. Now, I can take these two different reports that I put together and deliver them in a dashboard, and even put in a shiny little geo map down here to kind of show which region maybe we want to target during this initiative. And I can deliver this to the business in the time that they need, using the solution that I prefer to use, which is Tableau in this case, and getting that lightning fast performance out of Starburst to ensure I deliver this on time, so that we can stay ahead of our competition with initiatives like this. Additionally, if the business comes back and says that they would like me to adjust any of these reports, I no longer have to worry about how long it's going to take me, because maybe, again, I have to rely on extracts or turning off auto updates until I'm ready with the new format. Instead, I can do this in real time, quickly and easily, and get the new answers back to the business in the time frame that they're looking for. So that wraps up the demo I had for everyone today. Hopefully you found it useful, and thank you for your time.